Hey, in today's video, let's talk about how can you leverage AI in your product operations and your product management work. AI has been obviously quite a buzz for quite some time already, but there is of course a ton of power in AI of what it can do with when managing large amounts of data. And here's a thing where it shines. And today I want to go through both. What are the benefits, the good use cases of AI within product operations and product management, but also what are the areas where I think that AI is not yet there. It might be there in the future, but I'm not an expert and I'm not definitely developing those AI tools, so I don't know where it's going to go in the future. If you don't know me, my name is Juan. I have been in tech companies for over 20 years. Since 2010, I have been in product roles and I have been from product manager all the way to director of product management and CPO at different tech companies. So let's go now through the different use cases where I think that you should leverage AI for your product operations and your product management work. The first one that comes to my mind, and probably the most obvious one that probably you're also thinking about, is data crunching and insight generation. So it can cover many areas, but basically what AI can do for you is synthesize, I believe it is, massive volumes of data. Data can be anything, and especially unstructured data. Imagine interviews, meeting notes, imagine bugs, imagine feature requests coming from different sources. This is something that AI can do very well, much better than any of us can do, because it has the patience, which we don't have the patience when you think about going through hundreds of emails, hundreds of requests, potentially thousands of bugs that I've seen in some products. This is something that for many people is just so big task that basically they just drop the ball and they don't go through them. And what happens then is that they just prioritize what they have heard most recently, for example, in the case of bugs, or what happens with meeting notes. AI can basically automate that initial ingestion of that different structured data, whatever it is, those meeting notes, those customer requests, and bring them into the workflow and bring you the insights, or the most important insights from those requests. And it can help you structure the data, because when you hear data, or when you hear requests, or when you hear ideas of opportunities for your product, many times they are all over the place. But AI can help you kind of structure it and group it around different areas. So if you are thinking, for example, a product that it's meant for construction businesses, I talk about this many times because I have been working in that area for many, many years. But usually what there is some 3D interface where people can navigate a model, the building that they want to build. There is the metadata area. There are project management tools. So AI can help you look at those requests and start also not just telling you which ones are the maybe most common topics, but which ones are the common areas where those topics are focused or they are concentrated. For example, there's a ton of requests for the 3D engine, or there's a ton of requests for all the project management tools that are behind the scenes. So this is going to help you understand better which ones are the areas where more requests or more potential opportunities are coming from. So, and the same goes for bugs. It can help you understand which areas of the product are more potentially leaking than others. If we concentrate now more on the use cases for product operations, I think that one of the most important ones that AI can help you is for workflow and process optimization. One of the things that happens to all of us is that we tend to work out of memory. We tend to work not based on very heavy processes, especially in tech companies. In some other companies, there's very heavy processes, completely different story. But in tech companies, there's not so many processes usually in place. So for example, when we had to do discovery, have we done discovery? Is it done? Have we validated the problem? Have we validated the solution? Have we talked with customers? These kind of processes is something that we don't usually document very well. AI can help us start building those processes and start mapping them out, and being able to understand where are the potential weaknesses, where are the potential bottlenecks, where are the areas that potentially we don't have any strength because we are not doing anything about them. AI can help you a lot. And AI can help you also create templates for some of those processes and workflows that you have to do. So for example, if you are into PRDs, it can help you define a PRD, it can help you define a RISE scoring method, it can help you define a RACI matrix. So AI can help you create those templates that is going to help you do your job. And it's going to help you also bring consistency across different teams. Another strength of AI, I think, is that it can help you bring a strategic alignment and be a sparring partner. So, and this one, I would recommend to use it with caution. You have to define very well and explain very well what are the parameters of what your strategic goals are, what are potentially your OKRs, your KPIs, what are your KPI trees, whatever it is that you are using, and explain it very well to the AI that you are using. Basically, what you want to do is that once you have prioritized or come up with the first round, use it as a sparring partner and ask it, it's like, hey, can you give me your non-bias opinion? It usually has a less biased opinion than you have because it has not been in those meetings hearing the same things that you have heard, and it can give you sometimes a better, not better necessarily, but a more unbiased opinion of what of the feature, opportunity proposals that you have or business cases that are going to align or not with the strategic goals that you have for your product. So it potentially can help you do strategic alignment. I'll come to the downsides because unfortunately there's downsides and limitations to this. The other one that I think is also quite good is that AI can help you do knowledge and GTM efficiency, if I call it that way. So basically it can help you based on the information that you have built on your roadmaps, on the definition of your opportunities, your features, what you are building. It can start creating drafts of what is the QA knowledge base updates that you need to do, what are going to be the promotion materials. Maybe not the promotion materials, but it can help you or it can help the marketing team understand better what is potentially the areas that we had to talk about. Who is this for? How are they going to be benefiting from? So it can help create maybe those first drafts for them to, instead of having to go through each feature, it can just summarize it and bring like a brochure of, hey, this is what's coming here. These are the people that are going to be affected. This is the value that they are going to get, problem that we solve, how we solve it, and so on. Hey, I'm editing the video right now, and I noticed one thing that I kind of missed. I mentioned at the beginning that I was talking about the uses of AI for product operations and product management. For product operations, I think I covered the main use cases, but for product management, I noticed that potentially one of the main use cases that I missed is using it for prototyping. Rapid prototyping, creating something quite fast, and then using this as an MVP, or maybe not an MVP, but maybe more like a prototype to validate either a problem or a solution quickly with the customers. And of course, there are tools that claim that they can build fully working apps and so on. How much they work when it comes to fully building apps, especially if you want to integrate with existing code, that's a very different story, but it can help you advance very fast, test really quick. And I think that testing the concepts, prototyping, the rapid iteration in the very beginning part of your project, that I think that is a great use of AI. Now let's go through what are the limitations of AI when it comes to your pro operations and your product management work, because of course, it's not perfect and it's not yet there. So the first one that comes to my mind is accuracy and trust. If you have used AI somehow regularly, you will see it. There's hallucinations. Every now and then, AI throws you an idea that you either have not heard, that you had not mentioned. I mean, you could even tell, like, hey, list me or go through these ideas that I gave you, and it can pop new ideas just based on your previous conversations. This can happen. So you have to be careful when you use the data provided by AI, and you had to review it. So for example, when you go through those meeting notes, you have to be careful and you have to be really paying attention to what it has been told. And I would ask it that for each one of the ideas that it's giving me, that it gives you the source for that, for those set of ideas. Where are the requests that are linked to this? So you can go and verify that, hey, yes, okay, this is what it was talked during those meetings, or it was what it was requested by the customer, or is what the opportunities that we have found. You have to be careful with this because it can throw you things that come completely out of nowhere or based on some older conversation that you have had with it a while ago and it's not related to what you want to do at this point. So you have to be quite careful. And related to the accuracy and trust, there's also bias amplification. AI learns from historical data and it can come with ideas or suggestions based on old data. So imagine that, for example, there was a group that it was very low priority in the past. So when I was talking about construction, let's say that subcontractors, the people that go and do the work in the site, it was not an area or a group that it was prioritized for the product that we were building. But eventually, maybe 1 or 2 years ago, we prioritized them and started building features and capabilities in the product for them to use the product. So based on historical data and based on, for example, revenue or usage, there is very low usage and very low revenue compared to the other industries or the other personas that we have or users that we have in the product. But the reality is that we want to strengthen them because we are growing in that area, because we see an opportunity. And AI can be very biased by older data, by historical data that can potentially deprioritize things. So you again had to be careful. You again had to, again, I would say that always ask for sources and really always review what AI is suggesting you to do. And I would say that there's strategic and process weaknesses. As much as I said earlier, that it's great to use it for processes and workflow and for strategy. The reality is that I've been using it also to review some of the work that I do and see if it's strategic. And AI is very reactive, in my opinion. It's as reactive as a person can be, unfortunately, or logically as well, no? Because it's who or how it is learning from, or who is learning from the people that are making those decisions. So very easily, if I say give us set of ideas or opportunities to help prioritize and see if they're aligned strategically. But for one of them or a few of them, I give hints that this is something that a customer is very urgently asking for. It might just prioritize because he hears or he notices that urgency in that request without really then going and diving into, is this a long-term strategic value for us and is causing you to do a strategic drift? And then basically there's no strategy in that drifting. You just start doing circles, as you can do easily when you go through customer requests that are not aligned with your strategy, sales demands that are again not aligned with your strategy, creating new personas that are again, or trying to build features for new personas that are not aligned with your strategy. That's strategic drift that AI can do relatively easily, especially depending on how you are phrasing things. It can be very reactive, and it can bring the things that you have talked very recently as the most important. Unfortunately, in that way, it's not much better than a human. I had to say that working with a strategy, I've seen it being not very great to do a strategic work and a strategic alignment. If you try to be very neutral, it can be great. But if for whatever reason you are not, and you are just dumping things as soon as they come from emails, it can just raise priorities up and put things on the top just because somebody's screaming louder. And then there's the process rigidity. I think that AI here, it can be great to establish a very high-level framework, but if you try to build a full process, I don't think that it does that very well. I haven't seen it, at least. And it doesn't drive good cross-functional alignment in the processes that it's defining. So I think that if you rely too much on the processes that AI is giving you, it also can kill innovation and continuous improvement, because you will start to rely too much on how AI is telling you to work. So AI becomes basically your manager, and then you are the person that is doing the things. And then you are removing the continuous improvement and the continuous innovation from your work. And I think that you, as a human, should be critical, and you should be the one that is deciding those steps. If you want to use the Product Operations framework that I have used in different companies to successfully establish Product Operations systems and ways of working, you can find it in the link in the description and in the pinned comment. So what is the biggest risk and challenge of using AI in your work? I think that using AI in your work is just normal. I think you had to use it as what it is, an assistant. And I think that for that is a great tool. What I would say, and the biggest problem that there is of using AI, is that it's going to potentially, if you rely too much on it, is that it's going to erase any critical thinking from you. You might rely too much and then use only AI to do your work. And you have to use your human skills because they are very highly valuable, and you can be very critical, and you have experience that not necessarily the AI has. And AI is going to be a little bit of a cookie cutter solution, which is good when you especially don't have the knowledge, but when you want to advance and when you want to move forward, you need to bring that critical thinking of your own and use AI to be that assistant that helps you, that can be your sparring partner. Then I think you can be quite successful. Quick tips that I would recommend: always challenge the output. Don't accept any AI summary or suggestions at face value. Always challenge them, always ask for what are the sources of the investigation. Make sure that you can point me to where did you make these decisions from, so I can really rely that and review that this data is actually accurate, especially when crunching across large amounts of data. Second one is to bring the context. As I said, you have that critical thinking that AI doesn't necessarily have. AI is learning from large amounts of data, large amounts of behavior of many people. You have to really see how you are bringing that experience, that knowledge, that know-how, that intuition of you doing the work. You know the politics internally in your company. The AI doesn't know the internal politics of your company. It might get some because there are common situations that happen across teams, but the internal politics and the internal culture of a company is always different. So you are able to bring this background, and you can also see how you can influence others, because AI is not going to know very well from the team that you have how to manage all those people. So this is something where you really have to do your part. And finally, I would say be critical. Why? Because as I said earlier, the biggest risk is over-reliance on AI. If you rely too much on AI, basically, and you don't challenge the results that you get, basically you are becoming an operator, and AI is doing the job for you. What happens then is that, well, you're easily replaceable. So your value is on synthesis, on critical thinking, on a strategic judgment, on understanding of the overall environment, and empathy from who is in your team and who are your stakeholders. So you have to make sure that you remember all these things, so you are really able to bring that value to your company. Your experience, your critical thinking, your empathy, all these things are going to help you do a much better job. If you want to know more about a framework that I have built for Product Operations, go check out this video. I'll see you in the next one.